How we doing, everybody? Tim from Ski Rex Media here once again, welcoming you to another episode of the Ski Rex Media podcast. And today is going to be a lot of fun because we have we're talking about another book. Arts and snow sports go together. They're hand in hand. Everybody knows it. We've all agreed on it. And we get to introduce another brand new friend from the UK. I think we're up to like 5 folks who were born in or currently live in or happen to be in the UK this season. I don't know. It could be 5. I forget. We all know Kim was one of the last ones, and Kim was the person who introduced me to Kimberly K. Shout out, Ski A to Z. She introduced me to this person here. But before we get into the interview, which I'm already taking way too long to get into, we got to talk about a couple of things. The first one, as I've been talking about every week, is Whaleback Mountain. Yes, 15 minutes from my front door, Whaleback Mountain in Enfield, New Hampshire. Awesome little ski mountain. I love it. My partner mountain, my home mountain. They have everything you could ever want in a small package. You want it hard, they got it hard. You need it easy, they got it easy. You need to learn how to do it. You want to ski trees. Anything you want, they have it, and super accessible right off of I-89, exit 16 in Enfield, New Hampshire. And when I say right off, I mean literally. You have the parking lot. You could take 12 steps and you could be in the middle of the interstate. Please don't do it. That would be stupid. I'm just saying it is right there. Whaleback Mountain, one of my favorite places in the world to ski. Ski it to believe it. And I made the announcement to secure Ski Rex Media's legitimacy in snow sports media. I say one of the things I had to do was get a ski resort partner. I did that. Now I need to get a ski partner. I did that too. St. Custom Skis and Snowboards out of Gorham, New Hampshire. That's right. You want something special. You want it to look a certain way, be a certain length, be a certain width, and just look awesome. Like I said, St. Custom Skis and Snowboards. Go ahead, check them out. You'll be hearing more about them as the season goes on. Why? Because I'll be skiing on my very own pair of Ski Rex Media branded Saint Skis. It's going to be ridiculous. Saint Skis at saintskis.com. Check them out. They'll hook you up. You tell them what they need. Tell them I sent you. Say hi to KJ and his dad. Awesome people. I love them. Saint Custom Skis and Snowboards. Check them out. Now that I've gotten through all that in almost one breath, let's introduce our newest friend from the UK, Caroline Elliott. Caroline, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good in rainy England. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem, man. This is awesome. And again, Caroline has a book, but there's more to it than that. Just like Kim, she is in the she skis. And not only does she ski, she works in the ski industry over there in Europe. In rainy England, it would seem today. That's unfortunate because I'm looking at blue skies every which way. But that's the difference when you have 5 time zones between you. Okay, Caroline, but since I've talked way too much already in the first 3 minutes, why don't you tell us exactly who you are and what you do, and then we'll talk about the book.
Okay, so I'm British. I'm actually British-French. And I actually started I'm a ski patroller, / dog handler / bomber / weather forecaster. But I started my career down under, believe it, in Australia. But when I came back to Europe and went to France, they kind of had a bit of a laugh at my kangaroos on my certificates. And I said, if you want to work over here, you have to do it our way. And as you know, the French are very stoic, Gallic, lovely people. So that's me. I ended up doing changing my career and going into French ski patrol, doing all their system. And it's been my passion ever since, patrolling out in the all weathers, as we say, wind, whatever. I love it. You feel alive when you're out there and you kind of got that wind against your cheek and it's cold and love it. So that's my passion. I had a beautiful dog. He's no longer with us, called Fjord. And Fjord was a French flat-coated retriever. So unfortunately, you might hear another one, but that's Kayla. She's asleep on the sofa at the moment.
That's awesome. Wait, we love dogs here at Ski Rex Media, especially working dogs, man. They need their respect, too, for doing the jobs that they do. So real quick, since you said it, literal kangaroos on your certification? Because that's awesome.
Yeah, that's Threadpost Ski Patrol. Great guys. Love them. They trained me up. Had some very, very funny moments down under with the patrol lot. But unfortunately, the French don't like anything but their own qualifications when it comes to working in the country. So actually, talking about kangaroos, just a very, very quick anecdote. When I actually went back out to visit them a couple of years back, coming down the road, you have to be really, really careful that you don't knock over. Literally, come back down from the ski resort, that you don't knock over a kangaroo, or wombat, or what else do we have? Deer, emus, everything. It's like going, skiing in a zoo. Basically, it's great. Love it.
That is kind of awesome. I've said one of the things I do like about being outside, outdoor sports, snow sports, is the wildlife, and we have our issues too. Here you might hit a deer or a bear, so when you're going up and down these rural roads, be very careful. You might hit a kangaroo. You never know what you might hit. One time in New Jersey, there was a baboon running around. That's a whole other story. Oh yeah, it escaped from a zoo, and so I had to catch it.
Okay.
It's a funny story. That's an old story. So you know what? Before we get into the book, then let's talk a little bit about your experiences. So you were down in Australia doing this. That has to be a huge difference from working in France then, for like mountain size, culture, the whole nine.
Yeah, I mean, well, I actually only started down. I did in France. I actually started even before I went to Australia, because I only had an English address at that point. They even refused to let me put my application in. I did all my medical training, but they were like, nah, you haven't got any. They didn't say why, but it's very obvious. An English address, never a French address. So down under, I obviously did all this training. Then I came to France, and it was just very, 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 very tricky, the whole thing. I don't really know what else to say on that matter, but I've lost my train of thought completely, so excuse me for that.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, when you're interrupted, these things happen. And I don't mind. We're very easy to get along. And believe me, if anybody's going to lose their train of thought today, it's going to be me like six times over.
I tend to work with two things they say never work with. One is animals and children. So I've chosen to work with both of them. It's always a little bit complicated. So yeah. So the French it's tricky, but Australia is a great country. Welcome me there. I did all my training. I did a volley training, so they've got professional and voluntary patrol. And I was working as a ski instructor at that point. But then I headed back home to Europe and wanted to be in the mountains. And the mountains are not very big in England. We got some in Scotland with some pretty gnarly weather.
Sure.
Definitely great skiers in Scotland. That's kind of the start of my career.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So now you've been all over the world. You have all the training in the world. You don't get bored, do you?
No. Well, I exchanged, should we say, life's experience and living life as opposed to the monetary kind of side of things. I've never been motivated by money, so I've managed to go and do some incredible things, and I have no regrets this day, apart from not having a house. But hey, we're working on it.
Who needs a house? There's plenty of other opportunities out there. So cool. So part with all your experience, and again, we just covered it really quick because we're going to talk. Clearly, we could talk to Caroline all day about all kinds of things in the industry because she's seen it all and done most of it. These adventures is what led you to, I would assume, what led you to creating your book, Fjord's Mountain Mission, correct?
Yes, definitely. My love of dogs to start with, very, very passionate about dogs from a very young age. But it's quite funny, I laugh now inwardly because my patrol mates, a lot of them are quite lazy creatures, and it was always like, oh, Caroline, you go off and do the classe de neige, as we call them in French. So that's basically the snow classes. Mm-hmm. And these snow classes where you go down and just basically explain the role of patroller, what a patrol does, how to keep yourself safe, the FIS rules, little bits and pieces. And children are great. I love them. They've come out with some great anecdotes. In fact, one of my colleagues did a workshop with them one day, and he had out the splints because we have the splints which I don't know what you call them in English. You remove the air from them, so they're like you take the air out and it kind of molds. It's like a molding splint.
Sure.
So you have to pump it with a pump. And this kid turned around and actually said, "Oh, yes, my dad's got something like that. He keeps it in the cupboard and then he puts it back." And we were like, "Oh, okay. I don't think it's exactly the same thing."
Oh,
So
wow.
kids are very, very honest, and that's why I love them. And I thought, you know what? At the end of the day, these kids are waiting to get to the snow before they actually learn their stuff. I think they should be doing it before they get there. And then COVID hit. That, as we all know. I went back to the UK, but actually before all of this happened, a month before, I had my last avalanche training with Fjord, and Fjord collapsed and he passed away because he'd been eating socks for about 5 years. Because I returned to the UK. Yeah, he got bored. I returned to the UK for originally normally a year, 2 years to look after my mum who was ill with Alzheimer's. And he got bored, so he started eating socks. And cut long story short, he passed in pretty dramatic circumstances. And I got back and it was COVID lockdown. As we all know, we had to sit in our houses or wherever we were, and we weren't allowed to do anything.
Sure.
So I thought, what am I going to do? I was emotionally beyond myself. And the day before my birthday was when he died.
Oh,
like, mate, you could have picked another date to like pass away. How selfish.
Seriously.
Come on, man. So, he passed. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to just spend the next however long I'm inside writing. And I had already written when I used to come down off the hill, and, it's funny things used to happen. I just note them down. So I quite like writing, creative writing. And then it kind of all came together very organically. I had to source a illustrator. I didn't have an illustrator. Around her, and we again had built a relationship up over Skype with me putting the dog's harness on to show her to lots of other different things. So it was actually very, very funny. And it was a beautiful experience. So which has been organically grown into Fjord's Mountain Mission. Yeah.
Excellent. And that's quite the story. I had no idea coming into it that was the story I would get. I was thinking, oh yeah, I worked with the dog, so I wrote the stories about it. It's a whole thing, and that's very awesome. And as you go through the book, you see that you can see the connection that the two of you had. Yeah, you were able to get this through in words. It's a beautiful relationship, but it's not just about you and a dog, it's the team and what you did. There's a lot of practical information in this book, it seems.
Yeah, for me, the idea is it also from the publishing side of it, it was very tricky. So that's why I've ended up self-publishing with Ingram Sparks, because they give the perfect opportunity to do exactly what you want to do. And the idea is based on, I'd say a real day up the hill when it snowed heavily. And then it's kind of embedded with an educational side of things. So it's a bit of a strange mix, an eclectic mix, in the fact that it's a real story, but it has education in the educational boxes all the way through. And I think if you're having fun, I don't know about you, if you're going out and you're learning something, whether that might be a new activity like mountain biking or pottery or pole dancing, who knows? If you're having fun doing it, you learn it a lot quicker, as opposed to sitting there and
absolutely
lessons. So yeah, I refer to pole dancing because that's obviously what I used to do in France. But hey, that's completely going off the subject. As in pole dancing, pole dancing, not like. I'm a big believer in core strength, especially for our job, our profession, and skiing generally, or snowboarding, or any snow sport. You gotta have core strength. So pole dancing is the way to go. Anyway, off.
But you're not wrong.
Random thing there. Yeah.
You're definitely not wrong. I've said it openly. One of my biggest over the last couple of years, one of my biggest issues is not enough strength in the core. My turns stink because of it. It's a real thing. Pole dancing, though, I would assume takes coordination and balance. And yes, I have some of those to ski, but let's be honest, I don't ski as well as I used to either. So the pole I'd just be asking to get hurt and just killing my season. Maybe I'll try it in the summer. You're right. The education's here. And when you are having fun, everything's easy to learn. Easier to learn. You absorb it much better. It's a wonderful thing to do it that way. And that kind of leads into the whimsy of some of the illustrations here, which are quite wonderful. Your illustrator, or is that her name again?
Yeah, Evgenia Malina. She's incredible. She's from Kazakhstan. She lives in the UK. But she's not a skier, but she obviously comes from mountains. Yeah, she has a very, very unique style, which is why I kind of chose her. And luckily, I managed to find the funding from the local kind of funding called the Cumbrian Chamber of Commerce. But she has a very good style. But I say it took hours of sending her photos, of getting her to watch videos, to get her to really feel the whole thing through. So she put her heart into it as much as I did, which is why I think it kind of morphed into such a beautiful book. Yeah, and does Fjord proud, basically. He lives on.
Absolutely. The book is very cool. I've gone through it. I've looked through many of the illustrations, and the illustration is what you first notice. That's what we all do as human beings. We see pictures and we recognize them. But intermixed is all this extra information, all color coded and ready to go. Like,
yeah, the idea was taking one of the ski signs, which you see on the slopes, like slow down or intersection, the ones which are orange. That's obviously the ski safety. And then we did the blue for the working dog rules, so people understand there are slight things with a working dog, like don't throw them snowballs and stuff like that. And the green side, I mean, the good thing again about, I keep repeating about Ingram Sparks or self-publishing, is the fact that you can actually change things. So you can go through and you can change things on a regular basis. So I'm hoping that there are going to be more green boxes, which are going to, I say unfortunately going to have to add, because it's an ecological side of things.
Sure.
So yeah, helping to keep the planet a little bit safer and greener if we can, going forward.
Absolutely. That's something I should have mentioned, is that it's not just practical for your on mountain, but there's also ecological things and stuff like this. It's really, really cool. Now, one of the things you would notice, and my next question is, do you consider this a children's book or a book for everyone?
I think it's a bit of both, but obviously it's targeted at the age of 5 to 10, so primary. But I'm a great believer that I'm hoping that as parents also be reading the book for the younger children, and they will learn through the book themselves, because there's a lot of parents out there who don't know the basics of snow safety, which I think is quite scary, considering they are the role models for the children. But it can be read by other age groups completely, but the target is obviously children, because I want to start young. Starting young means it's easier to learn maybe and not change. Making changes is a bit more difficult in life, and it's also a dyslexic font, so I'm hoping it's more accessible to everyone. And also, I don't know if you noticed, it's actually a large font, so it means parents can read it at night without their glasses. I'm thinking about it from all angles. It's just like,
it's got everybody covered.
And I was going to say, have you not noticed another thing in there? There's lots of ponytails. Seriously. The whole point of the book was a little bit also kind of because I did struggle a lot in France, simply because being not a French person, I'm a French national now, but being non-French, being female, being British, English as well, they don't have a fondness for the English. They love the Irish, they love the Scottish, but the English they're not too fond of at times. So I had a bit of a struggle, and it is still very, very predominant male-based. The profession ski patrol, it's probably only, I'm guessing, 10% maximum in France. I know in North America it's a lot more developed in that way. There are a lot more women. In fact, Carrie Brandt, who runs the Women Patrol kind of Instagram, she wrote for me at the beginning of the book. We've got some incredible women who supported the book. One's Caroline Gleich, and sadly, bless her, Hilary Nelson, who I met in Chamonix. They all wrote a few words for the book to kind of say how important it is for youngsters to learn, and especially women to go out and follow their dreams. So yeah, so there's ponytails raining all through the book.
There are, and I did not even notice it until you brought it up.
Subliminal. You're like, yeah.
Definitely a fun little Easter egg there. It's very interesting because, again, it does cover so much in so many different ways. And at the beginning are all these different women who have added something to it,
Yeah.
And we run through that, and then we get into the story. And one of the reasons I asked about, is it geared to a children's book? Because Caroline was introduced to me by Kimberly Kay, as I said in the introduction. And Kim, who wrote, and she did her own illustration, we talked about it in that some people mistake her book for just a straight children's book. But there's so much more in it. Again, a lot of practical information, a lot of stuff you can use. And again, this is the same thing, just illustrated and told from the point of view of the dog, which is awesome.
Yeah. Like there used to be Olga the guinea pig. I don't even remember that. It was my favorite kids book. It's a guinea pig which spoke. This one's Fjord. But yeah. So yeah, it's Fjord talks all the way through. And he's soon to be, he actually is speaking now in French, German, Swedish, and Spanish is due to come out too. So, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And
so all over the world.
I know. Japan contacted me last week and they're doing it in Japanese. So the aim is actually even to go even further and do an Arabic version. I'd like to do an Arabic version too, to empower women over there.
Very nice.
For one, I'm delighted that Fjord's actually going to Scandinavia because it's obviously his name, Fjord. So he's been it's been translated into Swedish. We're going to probably do a Norwegian next year, and they've actually made a soft toy. So there's going to be a Fjord soft toy which is going to come into production probably next year. These are only prototypes, but they've actually stuffed it with the inners of old ski jackets, which is great.
Oh, cool!
So,
no, that's really cool from a recycling standpoint.
Yeah, so it's all very good. It's all very positive, and for me, at the end of the day, is I just want children to be safer out there, and if we can do it from the comfort and the warmth of the home, even weeks before they get to the slopes, and they can go there and feel a little bit more confident and less anxious. I think is also the word, because I know as a child I was quite anxious about a lot of stuff because I didn't know what I was going into.
Sure.
And just understanding and hearing that bombing at night, the bang. I don't know if you do the same thing. I think you do, but at night time we set off the Gazex and that sound so they understand. So yeah, it's kind of like Welcome to a Ski Resort book as well. So yeah, it's all good. I'm all very happy and very passionate about what I've done, and I'm delighted that it's going out this year in some other languages too.
Yeah, that is very cool. With all those different translations, you've got just about the entire world covered. Once you get a couple of Chinese dialects in there, that's it. You've got the whole planet.
Do some alterations for China probably, and and Holland as well. I'm going to get Holland in. The Dutch are a big skiing nation. They're a big après-ski people, so I put in a few things about don't drink too much alcohol.
I agree with that 100% personally, but
so there's kind of. There's going to be I'm going to do a young version that's young, but I'm going to do a picture book next year as well. So we're going to put the book into 3 little books. And they're called pixie books in Sweden, I've been told.
Nice.
Yeah, pixie books. So I'll do either Fjord opening the slopes or Fjord going to this or something, for the really, really young ones who can open up the book with their parents. So, yeah.
That's incredible. And it's so great for children anyway, because I agree with you. Safety is a big issue. Kids get anxious when they are going to do this for the first time. It can be scary. The beauty of a kid, though, as we've always said, they're A, 100% resilient, and B, they have a lower center of gravity. So that's always a wonderful thing.
It's true. But there's like 50% of accidents happen on, over 50% happen on blue slopes. So that, where's stats, black's virtually nothing, red, and then it just goes down. Yeah. So, yeah, I think I just know from our childhood I was very nervous about the whole thing. And I actually had this ski instructor when I was around about 10. I went with a very famous name I won't mention, children's activity holiday company. And the instructor, this is obviously just a reflection of the instructor, not the company, but he saw a slope which was shut. I said, slope shut. He was like, oh, this will be good. Let's go. I was just like, I don't think so. I mean, I know as a patroller that a couple of times we've left slopes shut, even though we'd opened them because they were powder days. And we didn't do it on purpose. We just kind of forgot. We did a few rounds to check the snow, and then we forgot to remove the sign. But generally, when a slope is shut, it's shut for a reason. And your liability of going down a slope, which is, do you know what I mean? Shut. If something happens, one, you're legally responsible for anything which goes wrong, and two, you're putting other people at risk, which is, So yeah.
That's a very good safety message, my friends. Don't duck ropes. It's just bad for everybody.
And the stuff, there was, the back of the book is, the end of the book is a story about this family who got caught, and it's a real story. They were walking down walking down a road which was shut due to avalanche danger.
Yeah.
The road was on a 5/5, and they just basically went on this road, and they got swept away. Luckily, they all were rescued, and the little girl came out after over 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's just mad. It's just like signs are there, for our safety and to help us be safe. We've all done it, and I've been there, so I'm just trying to say.
I was going to say, I'm not saying I haven't maybe ducked a rope or something once or twice in my day, but I know it's really stupid to do, and I shouldn't do it. Nobody should do it.
Then you just, you pay the circumstances, and if you go and do something to yourself, so be it. But if you're putting other people at risk, I think that's more the thing for me. Especially going to pull out rescue teams. And we had 40 people out to get this family out, helicopter, everything to get them. But they all came out good, but there's a lot of people to pull out when you shouldn't be there in the first place. But
yeah, no, you're right, and that's one of the reasons that patrollers should be respected like any other EMS service, whether it be police, fire, rescue, whatever it's called in your country. For those who are not in the U.S., any of these other services, and ski patrol included, you all go into situations to get people out of situations. And when there's somebody in a rescue situation, that just makes, I assume, the situation that much worse and more dangerous for you.
No, exactly. You do. There is an element of risk when you go in, but that's a calculated risk, like anything. And you won't obviously go in if the risk is too high. But yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the systems are different all the world around. I mean, France is very different to the US, to the UK. It's we don't have paramedics in France, for example. It's the fire brigade which go out. So yeah, lots of things are very, 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 very different. But that's again was the tricky bit for the book for me, was actually I've had trouble with the German one recently because they don't have exactly the same thing as ski patrol. So it's been a bit of a earbender for me trying to kind of get around the whole thing and get the message over correctly, because I also feel that I'm responsible, this message I'm giving, that obviously I've got to give it correctly. So I'm not going to be a case of liable, because we're not into that kind of scenario over here so much as the US is. But I just want to make sure what I portray and what I give over is correct information.
And you're right. And that's actually part of the fun of this book. Especially as it gets translated into other languages. It's a look into skiing in a foreign land or a foreign country, in that, like in the United States, we have certain color coding for trail difficulties, and our trail signs look different. In Europe and in different countries, obviously they're different. Australia is different. It's all different. So it's very interesting and a great educational opportunity. I don't have that stuff in Europe memorized. So if I go over there, I'm going to be happy I read this book and be like, all right, that's too hard for me.
Well, exactly. And I mean, the case of, do you remember the racers? There was racers which, I can't remember the names of the guys, of young racers from the States who came over, and it was a high avalanche risk. And they were out racing, fists racing, I think, alpine racing. And they went under ropes, and unfortunately they ended up in an avalanche, and the whole thing was over. It's all to do with out of boundaries, and they said it was different to the States. It's like, well, it's true, it's different to the States, but that's why, as you say, you've got to be aware of what's going on in the country you're in, and kind of be aware before you actually go out, because then you get yourself kind of caught out, don't you? So
do your research.
Yeah, do your research, and stay safe, basically, because it's a great place to be. I mean, the mountains, what better place?
Absolutely. Definitely, do your research. Like, avalanche safety it's something we keep in the back of our minds here in the Northeast of the U.S., but it's not something we really have to deal with commonly. We're not in Colorado, we're not in Utah, these places, and then the bigger places in like Canada, and then obviously in France and other places around the world that it's just different. And again, great to have an educational tool, even if it's fun in a storybook.
Yeah. I mean, it's understanding, isn't it? But yeah, it's the things that I say. The things are pretty fun, haven't they? At the end of the day, if they're not fun, then you turn off immediately. You don't. There's one thing about you can put the book down, you put it down one day, and then a week later, open it up again. So
it's very, very cool, and it's very, like I said, it has tons of practical information.
Yeah, from the dog side, but there's little bits and pieces in there for the parents too.
Absolutely. And it gives you a more respect for not only the job you do as a person, but as the dogs that are on the patrols as well. And again, we all know about police dogs and things like this. Many mountain rescue teams have dogs here in the U.S., over there in Europe. It's very interesting. And again, like you said, it shows you practical. It's just like a person's service dog. You don't walk up and start petting it or giving it milk bones or whatever brand of dog treat you're going to give it. There still has to be some forethought before you interact. And the same with these animals.
Definitely. I mean, they're going to be able to be approachable, but I'll tell you another little funny story, which is actually quite disgusting. But in the sense that I went one morning, obviously with Fjord on the chairlift, and I got to the top, and he just jumped off, and he was like really excited. Went around the back of the patrol hut, and then came out, and it was just like the Andrax puppy, but gone wrong. I was like, "Do you have that advert in the States?"
I don't think so.
Don't you? Oh God, it's like this big, beautiful, fat, golden kind of lab who's running around with toilet roll. Anyway. But so anyway, he'd found this toilet roll, but this toilet roll had something that looked like chocolate mousse on it.
Oh, jeez.
He had a mousse au chocolat. So anyway, I managed to get it off him. It was everywhere. It was horrific. And opened my slope, and then it was a bit of a rush because I had to kind of clean him up. And then I tied him up next to the patrol hut because it was really nice outside. I'd just tie him up for a bit. And this woman came off the chairlift and was like in French, "Oh, il est mignon." I was like, "Oh, he's cute. Can I touch him?" And I was like, "Okay, you can just give him one pat." And then next thing you know, she puts her face down. He starts licking her face.
Oh,
and
no.
I just could not for the life of me. So I'm sorry, but he's just eaten a load of poop from behind the ski patrol hut. So yeah, he did some funny things, did my dog.
That is incredible. That's probably the best story anybody has told on the Ski Rex Media podcast right there.
Yeah, well, you should actually hear another one. He's very talented. In fact, it actually says it in my book. He's when he was a pup, he came into the kitchen, my kitchen, and he was like so happy, wagging his tail. And I was like, "What's he got? What's he got? He's got something in his mouth." I was like, "Oh my God, he's got my bra." He took literally my bra, nicely placed the cups either side of his mouth. So I took it out on my lacy bra, and then he started kind of chew it. I was like, "What have you got there?" And he had the matching lacy knicker which went with it, and I was like, "You are good. You're too good." It's like the matching set all together. We managed to put the knicker in first, and then the bra off. I was like, "You're one talented pup, man. You might not be, So yeah, and he did some funny moments. I look back and, he's very much there for me still. Bless him. And hopefully it might be now. I'm going to breed from him with her this next year. You took him down for his birthday to a porter cabin north of Manchester for his birthday to have his specimen taken.
Okay.
As you do. So I'm going to breed, hopefully, if it works. So we in a future avalanche dog with Kayla, because we don't have female dogs in France for avalanche. It's only males. Because the females put the males off, which obviously they do.
Interesting.
No, they don't. They had one incident where apparently it went wrong. So no more. So only as I say, male dogs at the moment.
Well, there you go. I never knew that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so Kayla's not redundant at the moment, but she's doing a bit of trailing and she's working as a therapy dog. So she's not doing anything more kind of, as we say in French, violent, nothing more violent than that, because she's not allowed to, basically. Females are not allowed to go and search in the snow in France.
At least if they're doing it on 4 legs.
Yeah, well, exactly.
But that's a whole other thing. Yeah. And it sounds like you have had so many adventures, so many crazy stories. And of course, you can read about some of them in Fjord's Mountain Mission, the book. Let's get this out. Where can you get it? If it's translated worldwide, you have to be able to get it worldwide, I assume.
Yeah, and I do need to mention that name of that worldwide shop. Everyone knows it begins with A. So that one.
Yep.
And then you've got a Barnes & Noble in the States. Basically, you just Google Fjord's Mountain Mission. It comes up anywhere where you are. And you can get a hold of it. You can get a hold of it directly from me, but then I have to send it all the way from the UK. So then it just gets, as you know, with this discussion, it just gets complicated.
It's true.
Yeah. I'm hoping to do an e-version, not an e-version, ebook at some point, but that hasn't as of yet happened. I've just one thing by one thing, as we say, baby steps. So Google it, and it'll come up. And if you Google Carolina Fjord, you come up with some other information about what we do, what we did, and what I still do, in fact. Yeah. So it's all out there. I was meant to be coming out to this snow show in Boston. There's a snow show in Boston on the 18th of November.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah, exactly. It was going to come out, but I can't. But next year, hopefully I'm going to be out to maybe give a talk there.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I did something for Raccoon Events, who did this show in Birmingham this year, and liked him. I was there, and next year will be London. They're finally going back to London, but next year hopefully I'll be over in the States and actually to go a bit of patrolling up in Smuggler's Notch. Is it Smuggler's Notch or Smuggler's something?
Smuggler's Notch. Yeah. Not far from where I live, actually.
Oh, right. Yeah. I've got a great girlfriend called Jen. She's part of the patrol up there. So I was planning to go and visit her and do Thanksgiving, and I'm a bit gutted, but it's just not going to happen. So it'll be next year.
Fair enough. We just talked to Stephen Morgan from Raccoon Events about the upcoming Boston show and the Birmingham show as well.
Yeah. Great guy.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to be down there in Boston just hanging out, talking to people. So that's kind of a bummer that you won't be there, but I'll catch you there next year.
Next year.
Maybe Smugs.
Yeah. Make it a date.
Absolutely. I'm there, man.
Yeah, cool.
So the book, Fjord's Mountain Mission, if you don't know how to spell it, FJORD''S Mountain Mission. Links will be in my show notes as well. So go down there. Like I said, don't check the show notes. If you're listening in the car, wait till you pull over. You don't want to get a ticket or hurt. Available, again, worldwide. You can get it probably in your language. I think the only one you didn't bring up was Portuguese and maybe a couple of other little languages kicking around.
Well, and if you're going to do it, we have to do like Polish, because Poland, they've got mountains, of Portugal, no offense, but they don't have any mountains.
They don't.
It's a bit like, it's like Holland. Holland doesn't have any mountains, but the Dutch, a lot of them go skiing. So I know the Dutch go skiing. So big après ski hounds. So from personal experience, yeah.
Totally.
So that's give me another sidetrack about other stories. I've got loads to tell.
I can only imagine. And the stories you've told here are awesome. They're little bonuses to the book. Everybody check out the book. It's very cool. I've looked at it. I love the illustration. I love the stories. It's very, very cool. In the United States, our big gift giving season, or our big shopping day, Black Friday, the day after American Thanksgiving, is coming up in 2 weeks. Right before it is 2 weeks, right? The day before the start of the women's GS up at Killington, which I will also be at. Hopefully it'll be held off. It's a little shaky. So pick your favorite female skier in GS and slalom. Lord knows the Sunday for the slalom, Schifrin's going to win because she always does. Put your money there. But anybody could win the GS. So I think that's it. I think we've covered a lot. This was a lot of fun. Caroline, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
A lot of fun too. So thanks for inviting me. Sorry it got a bit technical in the beginning, but being in a rural area, surrounded by sheep at the moment,
Hey,
It's a bit tricky. But hey, we like sheep. So, yeah.
we love sheep. I love sheep. They're so cool.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, Tim. And I'll I'm sure we'll be in contact at some point, and I'll hopefully see you next year at the show.
Absolutely. I'm always here. Welcome to New England when you get here. An Englander in New England. I love it.
Yay. Cool. Brilliant. All right, then.
Excellent.
Yeah, so take care. Bonne journée, as we say in French, because it's still the daytime. Otherwise, I say bonne soirée. And keep in touch.
Which I will do, of course. There she goes, Caroline Elliott, author of Fjord's Mountain Mission. Fun book. I totally suggest you check it out. As we were saying, you can find it just about anywhere in the world in your preferred language. Check Amazon. Go ahead on Amazon and search it out. You can use Google or your favorite search engine. Put in Fjord's Mountain Mission. You'll be able to find it, no problem. And more information about Caroline, as she said. Right. Plus, it is almost the holiday shopping season, and I know some places have started putting out everything from Christmas trees to small gifts to whatever, to gift buying guides. I do not have a gift buying guide for snow sports. Maybe I'll do one at some point. I don't know. But go ahead and check out Fjord's Mountain Mission by Caroline Elliott. Easy to find. Pick it up for yourself. Pick it up for a family member for Christmas, or even if you want to give Thanksgiving gifts, though Thanksgiving is only next week. So I don't know if you'll have time to get it in that case. But anyway, there'll also be links in the description, as always, in the show notes. And like I've said before, do not check if you're listening in the car. Wait until you have come to a complete stop, and then you can look if you so choose. Right. Thank you once again for joining me on the old Ski Rex Media podcast. I have to apologize. And I'm not a big apology person, but the audio in this one was a little rough, so I apologize to you, the listener. I apologize to Caroline. It wasn't as bad as it could have been, but let's be honest, I need a new service to record my podcast with, my remote podcast, and I have found one, and you will be hearing that. I will be attempting to use the new service for the first time for an interview with Chris Benchetler, skier, filmmaker, artist. I'm sure you've heard of him. I'm sure you know who he is. His interview is going to be recorded in the early days of December and be out sometime in December as well. So hopefully by then there'll be some better audio. Please bear with me while I sort that out. I know I've been sorting it out for a couple of seasons, but I'm going to get it this time. I swear that I am. Anyway, once again, I am Tim from Ski Rex Media. Thank you for checking out the Ski Rex Media podcast. If you would like early access to the podcast and a couple of other tasty tidbits that I'm working on, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/Ski Rex Media. Also, links in the description for that. Well, for skirexmedia.com, and you can get there very easily from there. Or again, just go to Patreon, search out Ski Rex Media, become a subscriber over there, and see what's behind the old paywall. Also, don't forget to check out my partners, Whaleback Mountain, Enfield, New Hampshire, and Saint Custom Skis and Snowboards up in Gorham, New Hampshire. That's right, a Vermont boy with New Hampshire sponsors. Isn't that funny? I will see you out there. Winter is coming. It's finally getting colder. The snow is starting to fly here in the east. It's flying all kinds of crazy everywhere else. We will see you out there. Have a good one, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week. Later.